Hey there, Vintage Iron here. Today I'd like to talk to you about a topic that a lot of people have actually asked me about, and actually a lot of people have questions on this issue, and that is what to look for when you buy a used car. Not a simple answer to that question. It's a pretty complicated topic, but I do have my own personal list. Personally, I don't finance vehicles. I pay cash for everything, and so, you know, traditionally in the past, that means that I usually don't have a new car. Most of the vehicles that I have are used. However, I think you can get a good used vehicle if you follow some pretty stringent rules and you stick to them. You can't compromise on the issues that I'm going to talk to you about. First of all, you need to make sure that the vehicle has a clear title. Now, I know that sounds like a simple, a given, if you will, but a lot of people don't even think about that. One of the things that happens is you run into a vehicle that has a title problem. There's a signature in the wrong place. There's a lien holder that you weren't aware of. There's a mechanic's lien or something on the title, and that causes problems. If you find any kind of an issue with the title, don't buy the car. Save yourself a lot of trouble and just walk away. Say, you know what, I'll find something else. Another thing is, don't get in a hurry. I have a vehicle that I just purchased probably 6 months ago. It's a Dodge Ram truck. And I looked for about 6 months before I bought that truck, because I had some very specific criteria. What you need to do is you need to write down what you're looking for. What do you want? Do you want a truck? Do you want a car? Do you care? But you have to think about things like, am I going to be able to take, a certain number of people? Do I need to be able to move, stuff like with a pickup truck? Do I have to pull a trailer? Things of that nature. And so you got to think about that kind of stuff before you go out and look, because what happens, human nature is we find a vehicle, even though it doesn't meet our criteria, we like it, and so we just buy it. A lot of times that ends up being a bad decision. And so what you want to avoid is you want to avoid impulse buying. Impulse buying can cause you a lot of trouble. You need to take your time. You need to test drive. Go to the dealership and test drive a similar vehicle. You don't have to drive a new vehicle, but drive a similar vehicle at a reputable dealership, not a fly-by-night, buy here, pay here place. Stay away from those places. If you're going to finance, go to a reputable dealer. Doesn't necessarily have to be a dealership like Ford or Chevy or Nissan, but it needs to be a car dealer that is reputable. They have, they're not operating out of a trailer house. So you got to watch that stuff. So it's important that you consider these things. So make yourself a list. Ask yourself, what do I really want out of a vehicle? Make yourself a list of the things that you need out of that vehicle. And then find the vehicles that fit that criteria, and then do some research. Get on the internet, look up prices. Don't just assume that a vehicle that you look at is going for a good price. You need to compare prices. Like I said, with my truck, I spent about 6 months looking. I went to dealerships and I found the year-range truck that I wanted, and I drove several of those vehicles that were at a dealership, because I wanted to know what it felt like to drive that vehicle when it's in good running condition or in good shape or excellent condition. And I found some of them that were in prime condition, and I took them out and I test drove them. Now, the car sales guys at these dealerships, they didn't know I wasn't planning on buying the truck. They did everything they could to sell it to me, but of course, like I said, I was planning on buying from a private individual, not a dealership or a car lot, but a private individual, and I was going to pay cash. And the reason that I do that is because you're going to get a much better deal if you buy a car from a private individual as opposed to a dealership. And you know, the thing is though, you have to pretty much have cash to be able to do that. If you don't have cash, you may have to go to a dealership, and that's fine. If you want to finance a vehicle, no problem. I just don't personally choose not to do that. So here's the thing. You need to get a feel for the vehicle that you're looking at. That's why I say go test drive some of them that have been well maintained. That way when you go to that private individual who's selling that car, if there's something wrong with it, you're going to be much more apt to pick up a problem, because now you have a reference point. You have something to compare that vehicle to because you've already driven one that's in prime condition. So that's real important. Do your research on prices, compare prices. Do your research, get on Craigslist, get on eBay, get on autotrader.com, those are all nationwide, and type in that particular vehicle and start looking at what they're going for. Also look at the Kelley Blue Book on vehicles. Now, as far as Kelley Blue Book goes, you know, it's a good base reference, but you can't always go by Kelley Blue Book, because I know, like here where I live in the Southwest, the pickup trucks go for more than what Kelley Blue Book says they're worth. It's just the way it is here. And in other parts of the country that may be different. So there's something that's called the going price. Sometimes the going price or the going rate of a vehicle in your area may be more or less than what Kelley Blue Book says. And you know, hopefully it'll be less. So once I did the research on the vehicle, and I drove several vehicles, then I started looking at mileage. Another criteria that I have personally, and this is just up to you, is I don't buy anything that has more than 100,000 miles on it. That's just, I'm looking for, I've already know what the price range is that this particular vehicle is going for, because I've been looking at prices. And then I start looking at vehicles that have low mileage. I cannot stress enough to you how important it is that you factor this into your decision. Getting a low mileage vehicle is one of the best things you can do. I don't care how nice the vehicle looks. I don't care if they say, you know, oh, it was all highway miles. That may be, and granted, highway miles are easier than, you know, city stop and go driving. But you're really going to be doing yourself a favor if you look for a very low mileage vehicle. You want to find the lowest mileage vehicle of whatever you're looking for that you can find. And so I was able to, because I spent time and did research, I found a truck that had less than 80,000 miles on it and was in prime condition. And the way that I did that was, and again, most of the trucks that were in the price range that I paid were around 120, 130,000. So you have to look, you have to spend a lot of time looking and scouring through the ads, and occasionally you'll find someone, and this is going to sound bad, but you'll find somebody who they need the money. And you will generally get a better deal if you find people who are needing to sell something because they need cash. I bought my truck from a young couple that could not afford to drive the truck. They inherited this truck from their father, and they couldn't afford to pay the gas because it's a full-size truck, and you know, very low mileage, very good condition, garaged all its life. But it took me quite a while to find that truck. I had to, you know, I had cash in my pocket and I was ready to buy, but I held off. I didn't buy because I was holding out for a deal like I found. I was looking at the mileage saying, nope, you know, there were some nice trucks out there that would have been, you know, I could have purchased for that price, and they were nice, they were decent. But I was holding out for my mileage criteria. And because I did that, I was able to get a truck that's probably worth $6,000 or $7,000 more than what I paid. So it takes a little bit of patience and a little bit of finesse. A couple other things: never buy a vehicle at night. Resist the temptation to do this. If you're looking at a vehicle and it's dark outside, you can go look at them at night and you can test drive them or whatever. Never purchase that vehicle while it's dark outside. If you're interested in it and you've driven it at night, you tell the seller, well, you know what, I have a thing about buying them at night. We'll come back tomorrow, or when's a good time to come back during the day and look at this vehicle, because I want to look at it in the daylight. Real important. A lot of people end up regretting buying a vehicle when they do it at night, because the next day in the light of day they're able to see things that they couldn't see at night. So that's pretty simple. When you're inspecting the vehicle, look for mismatches in the body panels. The creases of the vehicle. I have my little Chevy Nova here. If you look at how the hood closes on the vehicle, these lines right here where the hood meets the vehicle, and hopefully you can get an idea of what I'm talking about. The lines where the door matches up to the fender here, the lines where the hood matches up, all of these body panels, you need to look for either too wide of a gap or too narrow of a gap there, or a gap that starts wide and gets narrow, or a hood that's mismatched or something of that nature. Because if one of these body panels, the doors, make sure that the doors, open and close and everything feels tight and snug and secure, and you have the same amount of gap all the way up and down here and on your hood and everything. Look at the front bumpers, make sure that they're not crooked or mismatched. Look at the back bumpers, make sure they're not pushed in or crooked. Now, the reason that we're looking for body panels that have a parting line here where the fender meets the hood and the door meets the fender and so forth. The reason we're looking for a mismatch here is because that is usually an indication that that vehicle has been in an accident and it's been repaired. Sometimes the repair won't be so good. So if you see a mismatched body panel, my advice to you is walk away from that car, because something's happened to it. Also, stay away from a salvage title. If it has a salvage title, that means the car's actually been in an accident, possibly even been totaled out by the insurance company and somebody repaired it. You want to stay away from that. As far as the engine and drivetrain goes, this can be a little dicey, especially if you're not a technician. But you want to open the hood and you want to look for any obvious signs of oil or antifreeze or anything that's leaking. Anything that you also want to look under the vehicle and make sure that there's not. If you see oil covering one of the components, the oil pan or so forth, there's probably a pretty significant oil leak. You probably want to walk away from that vehicle. Look at the tires and wheels. If you see any abnormal wear on the tires, especially the front tires, you probably want to move on and find another vehicle. If you see any of the wheels or tires that seem like they're out of whack, especially the front tires, if you see the front tire and you see it's kind of out of whack one way or the other, or in or out, move on, find another vehicle. Electrical systems as well. Check all the lighting. Make sure that the turn signals work. Make sure that the headlights work. When you test drive the vehicle, and this is this is one that a lot of people miss. When you test drive the vehicle, turn the radio off. Don't jam the stereo. Turn the AC on. Make sure the AC works. Turn the heater on. Go through and turn every accessory or function, test the cruise control, do all that, test everything in the vehicle, make sure it works. And also, this is a big one, take it on the freeway. Don't just test drive it on city streets. You want to take it on the freeway and see how this car rides on the freeway. How does it accelerate? How does it brake? How does it handle at higher speeds? Is there any kind of vibration or shaking or anything like that? If you discover anything like that, walk away. If you're buying a used vehicle, you need to look for all this stuff. there's always another one out there that's probably in good shape. If there's any of these issues with the vehicle, don't buy it. Now, obviously, if you're a technician and you know what the problem is, you can fix it, that's up to you. But I'm talking about the average person out there that doesn't really have any, experience or ability to get the car fixed, or to fix it themselves, rather. So these are just a few things. Also, very important, do a Carfax. It can be a little pricey, depending on, which way you want to go with it. But I would definitely do a Carfax. Do a background check on the car, because a Carfax will tell you if there's any issues with the car, if it has any title issues, if it has any odometer reading issues, if it has had any accidents. If there's any Carfax issues, in other words, when you do a Carfax, they're going to give you a green side and a red side. If there's any red flags that come up in the Carfax, don't buy the vehicle. Walk away. Because something in the past has happened to that vehicle that's caused a problem. Walk away. Another thing is, you should always get a second opinion. If you know anyone who's in the automotive industry or has a little bit of know-how, take somebody that's older with you. Take your grandfather. Your grandfather, you really, the older folks in your life, your grandfather, your parents, the people who've been around, you really need to take heed to their advice when it comes to car buying, because they've already made all the stupid mistakes when they were young. And they can tell you what not to do. If you know especially an automotive technician or somebody who works in the industry, take them with you. Say, hey, can you come check out this car with me? And that's huge. That's a big value, because they're going to be able to spot things that the average person who doesn't understand cars is not going to see. They have a lot of insight and they have a lot of understanding. If you have any doubts about a car's mechanical condition, let's say you find a vehicle and you really want to buy this car, take it to a certified shop, take it to a shop. Pay, if you're serious about buying it, pay 80, $100 or whatever they want to charge, and have them do a complete inspection on this vehicle before you buy it. Because if there's any problems, they're going to find them. We have, a criteria for the way that we inspect vehicles. As far as, they say, oh, we can give you, a multi-point or a 50-point inspection or whatever. That's just not a cliche that they throw out there. We really do have criteria that we use out of the service manual that tells us exactly what we need to be looking for on this vehicle. The average person out there, if you're not a technician, you're going to skip all this stuff. And you really could, buying a used car, and here's the thing I want to caution you on, you really could get screwed. And it might be a bad way to put that, but you could get screwed over. You could actually spend a lot of money on something that turns out to be a real lemon. And so you got to be very careful. Get a lot of advice, do a lot of research, think about all these things that I've talked about. A lot of times, you'll see a car and it's priced way lower than all the other cars, and you're like, wow, this is a great deal. Well, it may be a great deal. Then again, there might be something seriously wrong with that vehicle. And I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I might make some people mad with this, but that's fine. Because, I'm not going to just, I'm going to talk reality to you. The reality of the matter is that it does matter what neighborhood you buy your car in. My experience has been, if you go to a upscale neighborhood, middle class neighborhood, where you can tell these people, they take care of their stuff, they've got some money. Look at the house. If you're going to people's houses to purchase this vehicle, look at their house. Look at their yard. Do they take care of their yard? Is their yard well groomed, or is it trashed? Is their house taken care of, or are the screens all ripped and falling off and there's trash everywhere? And the thing is, if people don't take care of their property and their house, there's about a 99% chance that they're not taking care of their vehicle either. Keep that in mind. Very important that you, look carefully. When you drive into the neighborhood where you're going to look at this used car, look at the neighborhood. Look at the yards. Look at the class of people. And I know that sounds terrible, but hey, I'm just saying, you know, there are different classes of neighborhoods. The best vehicles, used vehicles that I've ever bought, and I've probably purchased in my lifetime 150 used vehicles in the last 30 years or so. The best neighborhoods to get a used car from are the ones that are kept up very nice, where people have good incomes. Because as a general rule, they take care of their stuff. Now that's not true across the board, you know, but that's a general rule to go by. If people don't take care of the place that they live, then they're probably not taking care of their vehicle. They're not changing the oil, they're not doing maintenance, they're not doing the things that need to be done. I try to buy vehicles. I actually look at the addresses where the used vehicles are if I find some that I want, and I actually try to find vehicles that are in a neighborhood that are far, how am I going to put this? They're more upscale than where I live. In other words, I'm looking for people with an income level higher than me, and then I'm going to look at their neighborhood and their house, and I'm going to kind of, when I talk to the person, I'm going to kind of feel them out. If I feel like they're being dishonest with me or deceitful, now don't get me wrong, you can go into a nice neighborhood and have somebody lie through their teeth to you. That can happen, and so you gotta be careful. You know, you'll find people that'll rip you off in every neighborhood. But if they're being honest, you're going to know it. If they're trying to cover up, you know, watch out for fast talkers. Oh yeah, this is the greatest car ever. You know, if they're talking fast and they're trying to convince you that, you know, this is the greatest car ever and there's nothing wrong with it and everything's perfect and they've never had a problem with it. Well, everybody's had problems with every vehicle. You know, the guy that's being honest will tell you, yeah, you know, I had this problem 6 months ago. We had to go ahead and change the timing belt, and you know, we had this and this, but I fixed that and repaired it. That's usually somebody who's telling you the truth. So just be careful. If you drive into the ghetto and the yards are all trashed and there's a, you know, it's a real rough neighborhood where nobody really cares about taking care of where they live, I tell you right now, they're not taking care of their cars. I would not buy a car in that neighborhood. So I'm just saying, you know, that's my personal feeling on it. So keep this stuff in mind. Very important that you think about this. I'm looking over my list here to see if I missed anything. Yeah, that's it. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and put them down at the bottom. And that's certainly not, you know, a complete list of everything. But, you know, just make sure you test drive the car and make sure the mechanical condition is good, this transmission shift's good, there's no noises, there's no squeaking or anything. All of that stuff has to be taken into consideration. So hopefully that helps. And this topic is certainly not, I'm not done with it. I may post more videos as more questions come up, but just these are a few pointers that help get you going in the right direction. The best thing you can do, all this stuff is important, but the best thing you can do is find somebody who is a professional automotive technician. Grab them, say, hey, you know, I'll buy you lunch, come on over Saturday, I need you to come and help me find a car. Best thing you can do, because they're going to spot stuff that you'll never see. So hopefully that helps you. Until next time, thanks.